Okay, there was a question a minute ago. I think I may have given an answer on one of the problems where I ended up saying arctan of -2 or something like that. Okay, so there was some confusion about that. How do you know when to say the inverse? How do you not? Let me see if I can give you a little explanation about that one. Okay, so I started here because I wanted a problem that would factor down and give me, well, this is going to say sine of x is equal to 2/3, and this would be sine of x is equal to -1/2. I wanted to talk about this scenario, but I don't typically give it to you already factored. I'd give it to you like this, and so it might be helpful to say let u equal sine of x. So then this becomes 6u squared minus u minus 2 equals 0. 6 is 3 times 2. And then I have to decide, okay, this, if I put the 2 here, that's 6, and then that's 2. Okay, that's not going to work. So let's put the 2 and a 1. This gives me a 3, and this is a 4. It needs to be negative, so this has to be negative. This has to be positive. But they didn't ask me to solve for u. I mean, I can. U is either equal to 2/3 or u is equal to -1/2. That's you, not me. Okay, just kidding. But we need this in terms of sine. So what this is sine of x is equal to 2/3, or sine of x is equal to -1/2. Well, when we come down to here, this one right here we know from our unit circle. So if you're thinking unit circle, the x value, I lied, the y value is sine. And so we want to know, when is the y value -1/2? Well, that's here at 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. I think I started to write the 11, and anyway, that's why I wrote it funny. So from this part, we have the answer 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. If they ask for all of them, then if they say find all, then we would have that x is equal to 7 pi over 6 plus 2 pi k, where k is an element of the integers, and 11 pi over 6 plus 2 pi k. Once again, k is still an element of the integers. But there's more answers from this part of the problem. Okay, but this 2/3 is not on the unit circle. But it is something that it's possible for us to do. So if you think about, like, this value right here is well, sine of pi over 2 is equal to 1. So it's going to be some value between 0 and 1. So it's somewhere in here is going to be this value of 2/3. But it's not something that we know. Another way to think about that is that when I graph sine is doing something like this, and its range goes from -1 to +1, and so 2/3 is going to be somewhere in here. So it's got all of these choices, but once again, it's not something that we know from the unit circle. So what we'll have to do for that one is say that x is equal to the inverse sine of 2/3. Okay, and technically that only gives us one answer, and so then we should find the others. I don't intend at this point to make it that complicated. Okay, and so to find all of them, well, this would be like this very first one here, and so then this other one you have to take the supplement of that. Anyway, if you're really curious, there's a bunch. There's this, and then if you add 2 pi, you'd get here. If you add 2 pi again, you'd end up right there. To get this other set, well, we know that in our unit circle, basically what's happening here is that we've got this value and this value. This would be like the arc sine of 2/3. Well, so is this. So if this angle here is theta, then this angle all the way to there is pi minus theta. Anyway, that's more complicated than I intend to get, especially since we're not able to see each other because of the coronavirus. So hopefully that's helpful. Basically, if you're trying to take, if you've got sine of x and you're somewhere between -1 and 1, you can do it. Okay, if it's something you know from, and the same thing with cosine of x, tangent, you could do anything, because keep in mind the tangent curve looks something like this. So I can do the inverse tangent of any value I want. It doesn't have to stay within that particular world. But if it's something that you don't know from the unit circle, then you would just tell me that x is equal to the inverse sine of whatever that number was. I do not, well, in this case it was 2/3. I do not intend to get this complicated, but I wanted to flesh out the understanding on this problem. So hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, good luck. So sorry, bye.